What's up, music fans of the internet? I'm Kevin.
I'm Derek.
And together we are last week's album, The Only Reviews with Two Different Views. And in this episode, we're talking about the new album by The Wind and the Wave. It's called Happiness is Not a Place. And we're exploring the question, is the wind and the wave lost or found? On the Rootsy, Happiness is Not a Place. Cheers, Derek, and everyone at home.
Cheers, Kevin, everyone at home.
The Wind and the Wave is a guy-girl duo based right here in Austin, Texas, made up of Patricia Lynn and Dwight Baker. This is their sophomore album following their 2013 debut From the Wreckage, which we reviewed a couple years back. And this one is produced by Butch Walker, who has worked with Weezer, Panic at the Disco, and others. Let's talk about what it sounds like. Derek, what do you think?
Kevin, I think Happiness is Not a Place sounds like Shovels and Rope and Of Monsters and Men play the Cranberries covers on the beach.
Interesting. Haven't heard a Cranberries reference in a decade or two.
I wanted to kick it back. Zombie.
That's where my head goes to. I think it sounds like Jenny Lewis, Tom Petty, and Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats take a trip inside their own souls to explore all the feels.
The feels.
That needs to be a band name if it's not already.
That is good.
But it cannot be an emo band that's too obvious.
You know what would be cool? Like a hardcore thrash band called The Feels.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about some highlights from the album. What do you got, Derek?
Kevin, one thing that stood out to me was just the overall sound here. In some of the articles I read about this album, they were trying to capture a, quote, rawer and rougher sound or energy. And I really thought they pulled it off here. Musical sounds really matched the vocal intensity. And overall, the raw and rough intensity I thought showed through here excellently.
I would agree for the most part. I think it's a very polished sound, but at the same time, the variety of emotions, I think, come through loud and clear. To your point, Derek, they're able to capture the perfect vibe, I think, through a mix of sort of brutally honest lyrics and also expansive soundscapes at the same time. And yeah, they definitely mesh well from track to track.
Another standout to me was the lyrics. Very forward, but at the same time, I thought they were relatable in many instances. Off the track, Let's Forget I Was Even Here. She says, my brain is such a complicated mess. That's no excuse, but let's forget that I was ever even here. Oh, please don't reply to this. We're close, but friends, that's what it is. You pour me drinks and I pat you on the back. I think the anxiety she kind of builds lyrically there, obviously it's kind of personal, but at the same time speaks very generally.
I would agree with all that. And my probably favorite part of the lyrics is just how brutally honest they are. She's not afraid to really bare her heart and soul, and that's not only something that's hard to do, but also I think something that's exceedingly more and more rare these days, and especially when she goes darker and deeper. Obviously that can get into some touchy terrain, but she's not afraid to go there, and I commend her for it. I think that's really, really brave.
Absolutely. Well, lastly, just a few tracks that stood out to me. The fifth track, Before the World Ends, I thought was a nice pop ditty. And then the eighth track, Under the Skin, the chorus had kind of a call and response vocal melody, similar to Of Monsters and Men here for me, but in a fantastic way.
I picked ones where I thought they really expanded really well on their signature sound. Take Me Back, for instance, proves they can go dark and dramatic and pull it off well. Really Want to Love Somebody sounds like an old school spaghetti western. And the Redhead and Aberdeen gets symphonic and woozy and, dare I say, Radiohead-esque, which I was not expecting from these guys, but I really enjoy it. All right, those are some great highlights. Did you have any lowlights, Derek?
Not really. I mean, I thought it was really a pretty good listen.
I actually had one small gripe. I thought at times it sounded a little too slick, and it's just on a few tracks, really. My Mind is an Endless Sea, Let's Forget That I Was Ever Even Here, and Anything for You. I really think these guys are at their best when they're either a little more raw or a little more adventurous. Well, enough highlights, enough lowlights. Let's talk about overall rating and answer the big question, is the wind and the wave lost or found? On the Rootsy, Happiness is Not a Place. What do you say, Derek?
To answer the big question, I think they get lost and found, but ultimately in doing so, they help your ears find a happy place. I think overall here, the powerful, relatable lyrics is really a highlight here. And I think you're totally right. They did really kind of go outside the sound of their first album into some new areas. And I think they did it very well. And so I really thought this was a pretty good listen. So I'm giving it a 4 out of 5.
We will agree for the most part. Are these guys lost or found on this new album? I have to say they are found and then some. I was really impressed with this one. They haven't lost their signature sound, and at the same time, they've found some really interesting new territory, which is a difficult twofer to pull off. And ironically, I feel like this one is good for driving. There's lots of energy and variety, and it's very thought-provoking, so the title seems very fitting to me. So overall, I agree. I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5 as well. So that makes a combined 8 out of 10 for Happiness Is Not a Place by The Wind and the Wave. So definitely check out this album and let us know what you think about it. We'd love to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to us either on YouTube or the podcast. And as always, I'm Kevin.
I'm Derek.
Cheers, guys. We'll see you next time.